Hi, everyone. Today is Thursday, January 11. This is our sixth Speech 110 class. Today, we will do review of speeches, and everyone's asked to share comments on at least one classmate. And some of you may very well be sharing comments on more than one. It's fine if you add in after the person assigned. So who would like to start sharing? As again, we don't want to offer the response yet for the people that aren't in the room, but we'll try and wait and see. Hopefully they'll join us. But who wants to start sharing if you see your classmate that you're responding to on camera? So let's have a volunteer to start us off. Who wants to speak first? Courtney, who are you responding to?
I'm responding to Tori's speech.
Okay, great. Well, you see the prompts, so go run through them and then add anything else you might like to add.
There was definitely a clear central idea. It was about her softball glove and how precious it was to her and the meaning behind it. There was a relevance of topic to the audience because I played the sport and we're almost all of us are almost athletes, so it's really easy to connect the passion for the sport and connecting it to your own life. She didn't really need citations, but she had like great pictorial evidence, like that showed the beginning of how the softball glove was and the stage that it's at now, like just showing like how much work she put in for it. She did integrate her presentation very well, like of course with her pictures and
And
everything.
let me stop you for 1 second, Courtney. Go ahead and talk right to Tori. She's there. She's listening. You could say
Oh,
you because
well,
she's
yeah,
there.
you did that, Tori.
Thank you.
A positive comment is I love the beginning of your video. Like you said, like a really beautiful scenery, like just imagining yourself on the field, like in that diamond. It's very intense when you're infield and outfield as well. So it just kind of like gave me goosebumps. And a suggestion I had was maybe like try different tones, like I don't, just volume here and there. But other than that, your speech was really good.
Great.
Thank you.
Good. Who else has a comment if you watched Tori's speech that you would like to share with Tori? It can be something you wrote in the forum, or it can be something different if you didn't write one in the forum but you watched it. Hopefully you'll watch all of each other's presentations, and that's the goal because you do learn from watching others. Any comments for Tori from anyone else? All right, if you think of one afterwards, you can still add it in. Tori, you used a scenario to capture our attention, which is the way you're supposed to begin a speech. You related to the audience when you were talking about think of the equipment you might use and you elaborated on that. Yes, I think you established your credibility in your introduction as well with your experience, and then you introduced your topic and previewed the main points real clearly. Those are the 4 functions of the introduction. So it was a top-notch intro. Well done. I got your main points, and I hope that you all, when you talk about your classmates, will share what the main points were. If you didn't copy those down this time for next time, think about that. Your main points were that your customized glove strengthens relationships. There are specific times in life. It reminds you of specific times in life that have meaning, and it symbolized your journey. You had very nice development of all 3 main points. Your speech was 5 minutes, 14 seconds, so you were right in the time limit with that. And your personal stories really show the relevance to the speaker. I felt like you could have expanded the relevance to others, which was part of what the speech was required. We didn't have as much of that as maybe you could have had in the speech. I heard some connectives. It's before we talked about connectives. So anybody that got connectives this time, good for you. You put things in like first, second, and another way. Those just help let the audience know that you're getting to the next point. So those worked well for you, those signposts. And you had an effective last line when you gave the quote. I guess it was your dad said, "Stop the ball, 6." Then you said thank you at the end. We do want to try to, if you don't have to say thank you as the last words. It's really not as effective as leaving us with that great last line you had. Okay. Now, if you look at all the sample speeches in the Lucas textbook and the sample preparation outline and stuff in chapter 11, there's no thank yous at the end. Remember, like we talked yesterday, the speech is a present to your audience. It's a presentation. So that's my comments on composition. On delivery, I thought your voice was varied and flexible. One of the things that's really tough, and I almost wrote this on a lot of people's responses, is to add more enthusiasm and energy in your voice. Sometimes people's voices got a little like this, and this is kind of hard to listen to. It's very low energy because you're all alone in a room probably when you're recording it, and it's harder in this situation than in a face-to-face to bring that vocal enthusiasm and energy. But that would be something I would encourage almost all of you to do. I wrote that on your sheet if that was something you need to work on. But I do think you looked at the camera lens a lot. You still could expand it because it looked like you were reading at times. I didn't hear any vocalized pauses, and you integrated the slides really well. I wish you would have shown us the real object. Obviously, it's your glove. You had it. You saw that in some other speeches. If you watch them, people actually showed the real object, and that was part of what we should have done too. So good work overall with it. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else have any comments for Tori before we leave that? All right. And by the way, if any of you have any comments over anything I wrote on your evaluation form, ask me about it either here today during this, or if we don't have time for that today in class, we can have another meeting. I'm meeting a couple of you after class today, and that's good. All right. Who else, let's see, is ready to share a response for a classmate? And by the way, if your classmates don't come in who are not here, we will let you share your response for them anyway. But who's next with a response for a classmate?
I'll do Courtney.
All right, Tori, go ahead.
Her broad topic area was her block jazz shoes.
And you can talk to
Her
her,
central
not
idea.
you can talk to her and
Oh,
just say you.
sorry.
That's good. Yeah, that's fine.
Courtney, your central idea was like, I'm assuming all the hard work that you put in to get your block jazz shoes, and then I had your main points as that block jazz shoes are, what was it, the top of the line and the most exquisite pair of jazz shoes a dancer can receive, and they are a rite of passage. I said there was a relevance to the topic because everyone has to earn something in their life, and you established how hard you worked to earn those block jazz shoes, just like I worked hard to earn my glove. I did say that you incorporated your citations very well. I didn't really see any presentation aids, so I said no to that question. And then I said that you described your journey very well, and you had a lot of expression, and you spoke very, very well and clear. The only improvement that I think you can make was incorporating your central ideas and your main points a little bit better. But that was it. I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
Good point. Who else watched Courtney's and might be able to offer a response to Courtney? Anybody have any comments?
I watched Courtney's video. I watched Courtney's video. She was one of the people I watched, and it was really, I liked your video. It was really, could tell that you like really love like your block jazz shoes and stuff, and like your energy and stuff when you were talking. I really love that.
Good. Thanks, Deanne. Anybody else have a comment
you.
for Courtney? Courtney, your delivery was very strong in this because you were animated, you were enthusiastic, you had facial expressions. One of the things you all can do is when you review your video, when you're done recording, maybe watch it and hit the mute button and just see if you look like you're excited about your topic or if you're energized as a speaker. See if you're looking at the camera. And if you're not, maybe you want to record it again and try to do some of those things. This is a whole process. So, the first one is what it is, and hopefully you can apply some of these suggestions to future ones. Now, what I was saying was Courtney's delivery was very good overall. I think the big thing that you didn't do in your delivery that you could improve is looking more at the camera. It looked like you were looking down a lot and reading, and you want to try to get more extemporaneous delivery is what we talked about with that. And you never showed the real object. We should have seen the object. I'm sure you have those shoes, but we need to see them. That's a requirement. So now the next speech, everybody, the next speech, it requires you to have at least 3 PowerPoint presentation aids. That doesn't mean you cannot use other visuals too. If you have a real object that you need to show for part of, or you want to demonstrate something on your person, you can do that in the next speeches too. But you do need to have the 3 visual aids. Okay, so that was about it for yeah, you were a little under time too, which means you could expand each of your main points. But I think that the composition is the area where you'll be focusing some of your work for next time. When you start, everybody, first words out of your mouth should be attention capturing device. You all are asked, because this is an online class, you would never do this in a speech that you're recording for somebody else that's not a class. But I did ask you to show your speaking outline. And if you've printed it, it's probably about 10 seconds per page. If you're scrolling through it as a document on your computer, which I understand if you can't print it, this is a January term and you're not all on campus to print. I don't have a printer at home, so I get that. But if you don't print it, then just take about 10 seconds per page and go real slowly, because I just want to look and see what you did there. I know you submitted as well, but sometimes you write in some delivery cues after, and I want to give you credit for that. And I just want to see how you set it up. Then use that for your delivery. felt like some people showed that, but they didn't quite use that in their delivery. They read from their prep outline or some paragraphs or something, and that's not really the kind of delivery we're striving for in here. So work on that, everybody. I loved your vocabulary in your composition. Those points that Tori mentioned, I don't think those were really the main points of the speech. That's what I had trouble with too, was just identifying them. So we need that strong central idea. But you gave some good personal stories to add relevance to personal to you. You had some connectives like firstly and secondly. I don't know if those are really words. I think they are words, but they're words now, and you used them fine. And you gave us, just like we said about the last speech about Tori's, you gave us a great last line, and then you added in thank you. It's very polite to say thank you. Please don't get me wrong, everybody. If you want to thank your audience, try to put it in your conclusion before your last line of your speech. And this carries over when you're in an important meeting and you want to thank people, or when you're in an interview, you want to thank them for the time. But the last thing you want to leave them with is something stronger than just you saying thanks. Focus it on your topic. Okay, good. All right, so that's Courtney's. Who's next to respond to a classmate? Cammie's with us now. Glad you're here, Cammie. You may jump in anytime and do your response, or whoever's responding to Cammie may offer theirs. Who's next?
I can go.
Okay, Cammie, and who are you responding to?
Kayshana.
Great, so you can talk right to her.
I really liked how she made her introduction really personable, and I feel like that makes the audience engage straight away. And I related to her speech a lot because music is really important to the both of us, and it's something that we both rely on and can depend on. And I also liked how you would occasionally ask the audience questions, and I feel like that made them feel involved and like more able to relate and like connect to what you were saying. And I also thought it was cool that you put the lyrics up, like to create a visual to allow the audience to like really understand what the message was. And it was really hard for me to come up with a suggestion, but I would just say like possibly take small pauses throughout the speech so like the audience can really resonate like with what she was saying. But I thought it was really good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cammie. Who else has a response for Kayshana? Anybody? Or comment, not a whole response. Anybody want to share anything else?
I liked the points on inspiration to society. I feel like that was like a really good insight just from going like personal connection to like just the audience connection, then the relevance to all of society that like we all go through tough times and we should be there to like lift everyone up. So I thought that was a really great point.
Good. Thanks, Kensley. Anybody else? I would agree with what your classmates have said, Kayshana, and you had clear personal relevance and clear relevance to society, and those were really your main points. It's inspirational to Kayshana. It helps listeners stay motivated through tough times, and it's inspirational to our society. Very nice job with that. Got them clearly because you had good organization overall. You started with a question to capture our attention, which is a great technique. A lot of you used, which was good. What I didn't hear in your intro, it was pretty complete overall. I didn't hear you establish your credibility. Like, why are you qualified to talk about this song? When did you first hear it? Just a little mention of that or something would have helped with that, Kayshana, for credibility in the introduction, or some research that you've done on it. You can always mention that. So everybody think about this for your next speech. Your 4 functions in your intro. You start by capturing attention. Don't say anything on your recording. Even if you're showing your topic outline, you don't have to say anything. Just show it, silence. And then when you start your speech, it should be your attention capturing device. Some of you introduced yourself, and again, that's not terribly wrong. It's just not what we need to do. But you introduced yourself and you introduced your topic. We want to know your topic from your introduction, not from anything you say before you actually start. Okay? So just try that next time. You didn't get points off on that this time, but I wanted to make sure that everybody knows you should start with an attention capturing device. Okay? All right. So Kayshana, what else? Yeah, the song Rise Up by Andra Day. Sorry, I know this song, but I didn't know the artist. So thanks for sharing that. That's good. I thought your connectives, yeah, you had a couple of connectives. So with that being said, and finally, those good to help us along. And I thought you had a clear review of your main points and your conclusion. Don't need to thank us at the end. We've gone through that with a couple. In terms of your delivery comments, your voice was varied and flexible. Yes, you looked like you were dressed in dressy, casual, professional attire. Looked fine. That was nice. And you also had a nice background. Very, very neutral. Nothing there to distract us. And I think at times you gave us real good, effective eye contact. Other times it appeared you were, you actually I think you could have expanded your extemporaneous delivery just a little bit and not read so much at times. You chose 40 seconds of the song, which was really good. And I love the way you played it with the lyrics. A couple of you did that. That was a really nice choice because sometimes you can't understand the lyrics that the singers are saying. So having the lyrics on the screen was really helpful for those of you that did that. And you did the audio aid very nicely in terms of the way you played it. It was smooth. And I always try to tell everybody, and this is a point for everybody, if you're taking some notes, you might want to jot this down. When you're showing a presentation aid, whether it's audio or visual, a real object, a PowerPoint, you probably want to say something to set it up, or at least, and of course, talk while it is showing too. The visual aids and the audio aids, they don't speak for themselves. With an audio aid particularly, you want to set it up because you don't talk while it's playing. But with the visual aids, you should explain them to us. We talked about this when we covered that unit. It was a quick unit on visual aids, but remember, they don't speak for themselves, so make sure you explain your visuals to us. All right, does anybody else have any final comments for Kashana before we leave hers? Thank you for that response. And let's move along to the next one. Okay, thanks, Cami. Who's next for a response?
I can go.
All right, Hudson, who are you talking about?
Olivia.
Okay, great. Let's hear it. You could talk right to Olivia.
Olivia, I think your topic was your home. Main points were how it's been an inspiration to you and to others in your life, and then how it's watched you grow up in your journey throughout life. I think it's very relevant to the audience because almost everyone has a place that they call home. So that relates really well to everybody. You did a good job of you showed your home at the start of the speech, so that was a good way to get a visual early. Some feedback, I thought you were really well spoken and had good lighting and framing, and it was a really good topic that everyone could relate to. And it's kind of hard for me to find critique, but the only thing I noticed, you were like looking. You never really looked at the camera much. You were looking either down or up over the camera. That's the only thing I could really pick out.
Thanks, Hudson. Who else has a comment for Olivia today?
I also watched her speech.
Good.
And I thought it was cool how she talked about how living in the same house made a positive impact on her relationship with her siblings. And I thought that was cool because I'm close with mine as well.
Good. Good. Thanks, Cami. Anybody else? Okay, Olivia, you started out with a unique attention capturing device to what your classmates have done so far that we've talked about. You had a picture and it was very dramatic and it was nice to see that. Yeah. And then you said it'll no longer be my home. And that immediately captured us because I said, oh no, what's happening? But you explained it, which was nice. I think you related to the audience in your introduction when you talked about what homes are and what they mean to people, and of course credibility. You've been living there for your whole life, which was good. You said that in your intro, so that establishes credibility. I was very clear with your preview of your main points as well, that your topic was inspirational to you, to others, and it tells Olivia's journey, tells your journey. And I thought you developed your main points pretty well overall with the personal examples with relevance to speaker. You related to others a lot in the main point too. That was your main point number 2. I did hear a couple of connectives from here, and just as much you did those kind of connectives, and you gave us an effective line for closure for anyone who has walked through this house or this home. I didn't get a very clear review of your main points in the conclusion. I think they were there, but everybody, when you write the conclusion, you really have 2 functions. The first function is to review your main points, and the second function is to give us a great last line with closure. As I'm saying, a lot of you had a great last line for closure. The review in this one was not quite as clear, Olivia, so you want to try and do that next time. It's kind of like you're saying the preview statement from the introduction again, just that simple, and review those main points for us. Okay, in terms of the delivery for Olivia, I thought your voice was varied and flexible. All of you had sufficient volume, so that's good. When we're talking about energy, it just means adding a little more expressiveness and enthusiasm to what you're talking about. I hope you're choosing topics that excite you, that you want to research, and this is going to be key for tomorrow when you pick your topic and share it for your next speech. Fine tone, pauses, rate, easy to follow, good. A lot of people, I understand that everybody's concentrating when you're giving your speeches because you want to make sure you remember what to say. You remember you've got your speaking outline that'll prompt you. Your speaking outline should have enough to prompt everybody. And you're managing the Zoom and you're managing showing visuals next time. So it's a lot to think about. So sometimes we get really serious when we're giving the speeches. And if you're giving a really serious topic, that's appropriate. Something that's life or death, something that's dramatic, that's not good. You don't want to be smiling then. However, in these speeches that are personally inspirational to you, a lot of people could have used a lot more smiles. And some of you mentioned that in your responses on the forum too. And I think that would help. So just try and think about that, everybody, as you do your next one and expand your extemporaneous delivery a little bit. You appeared calm and prepared. And I gave this comment to a lot of people too. And Olivia, you exemplified this. You sounded confident. I just think you want to relax and share more with us next time. So good work overall with that, with the speech. Does anybody have another final comment for Olivia before we leave her speech? All right, let's move on to the next one then. Who else has a comment for someone else who hasn't spoken yet?
I can go.
Okay, great. And you're talking about?
I'm talking about Hudson.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay, so his broad topic was his grandfather's compass
You
from
can talk
World
right
War
to
II.
Hudson. Just talk right to him. That's fine.
And how it survived and like went through World War II, which was a very historical event. And then I felt like your main points were the historical significance and how it's inspirational to you. And he had a clear central idea, which I thought was how your grandfather survived a gunshot to the neck with the compass in his pocket. And then it was obviously relevant to us because we all have or most of us have a relationship with our grandparents and or have had like an object that's been passed down through our family or that's significant to us that we like cherish. I also felt that you integrated the compass and like visual aids. I think I counted 3 times that you showed it and you showed it like in depth. You like spun it around and we got to see it, which was nice. I didn't expect it to look like that, by the way, too. It was really well crafted. And then one positive comment, there's lots, as I mentioned, but you had a very steady and calm voice throughout. You didn't sound nervous and I knew that you knew what you were talking about. And then one suggestion I would say would be to try and remain still during the speech and maybe not as close to the camera.
Okay, great. Thanks, Olivia. Who else has a comment for Hudson? Anybody?
Your last line was really powerful with no matter how lost you felt, the compass will help you be confident enough to help find your way. That was really a great way to leave it. And then just talking about your relationship with your Opal was really sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. I like the way you used that word too and explained that it was Dutch and that just helped us. Otherwise I wouldn't have known what you meant. So good. You have to do that kind of stuff in speaking. Good. Anybody else? Okay, so Hudson, strong composition overall. You started with a question to capture our attention. You related to us with the object's antique and what it's been through, and you made us think about objects that we might have for that. Obviously, you have credibility because you talked about how the compass was passed down. And in your introduction, you did a preview, and then you started to explain some of the main points in the introduction. I want to encourage everybody to just really keep the previews and the intros tight and try not to elaborate until you get to the body. That's what the body's for. So it wasn't terrible. It's not wrong to do that. It just kind of, okay, let's get to it. Because then it sounds like you're doing the main points twice and you only need to do them once, which is in the body. So let's see what else. Clear on the points. There were 2 of them. Historically significant, personally significant. And you had nice development of both with the extended example that you gave, the story that your classmate mentioned, and the comparison to today about how it's, we don't really use them today because we have GPSs. Absolutely. Only time I ever used a compass in my life is way back when I was a young person in scouts and I went camping. And that was, a long time ago. We had to learn how to use a compass then. But I'm really glad the way you showed it. Some people, if you read your forum comments, wanted you to show it even more. And that's a good comment, because if the audience wants more, that's good. You gave us a clear review in the conclusion and had an effective last line, as your classmate mentioned. In terms of delivery was pretty strong also. Voice was varied, flexible. I felt like you could add more enthusiasm and energy to your voice. And like I said, everybody, this is a tough task when you're all alone in a room and you want to be excited about something. Maybe you hate public speaking, and I get that totally. It isn't everybody's favorite thing to do. And you may have been nervous because you're recording and stuff, but just try and allow yourself to enjoy sharing this information with us. And if you pick the right topics, then hopefully that'll help you with that. And if you're passionate about your persuasive topic, something you really want, then that will help. And you don't have to fabricate it. It should be there naturally. So if you're a naturally soft-spoken or quiet or shy person, this might push you a little out of your comfort zone, but try and turn it on. And we're going to do a lesson on delivery and play with our voices a little bit tomorrow in class. So that will help you maybe with delivery for next time too, for everybody. Professional attire looked good. Good rate tone. I wrote out a smile. You're talking about this really special object, but you didn't smile a whole lot, and that would help. But calm, prepared, professional, integrated the object. When you talk about an object that somebody gave you, a couple of you did this. It would have been really neat to see a picture of you, or at least of it was your great grandfather. So I don't know if you knew him all that well or whatever, but maybe you could get a picture of him. I have a picture of my great grandfather. Just, and I didn't know him all that well because it was a long, long time ago. He's long gone now, but that would be fun. Or the people you mentioned in your speech, everybody, if you mention people in your family or even other people that you don't know, it's good to show them on visuals. So think about that. Good work overall with it, Hudson. Nice job. Okay.
Thank you.
Who else is ready to share theirs? Who hasn't shared yet? We're halfway done.
I'll go.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
My response was to Jenny.
Good.
So the broad topic area was the broken mirror from your car. The main points were the mirror is inspirational because it provides you with a sense of self-worth, a gratitude for life, and a positive outlook. You did relate it to the audience. You asked questions about like how they can find value in something that may have like a negative story associated with it, and like you associated everyone going through unfortunate events but finding the beauty in those unfortunate events, how you were in a car crash but you made it out alive, you left with your life. You showed the mirror. I think you showed it a good amount of times and you held it up for a good amount of time. And then my positive comment, I think it was a great speech. My attention was captured and maintained the entire speech. You went a step further and you found the deeper meaning in the mirror. And I think you did very good in like symbolizing it and evaluating further on it. And I think my suggestion is just to work on the audience connection a little more, and it would help with the length in your speech because it was a little bit under the time. But I think it was a really great speech. It was very inspiring.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
Kensley.
you.
Who else has a comment for Jenny?
I
Jenny,
watched Jenny's
oh, go ahead.
speech, and I thought that your speech, when you were talking, you were very like clear and concise, and I feel like I couldn't stop watching. So I think you did a really good job.
Great. That's always a good comment. Good. All right. Anybody else? All right, Jenny, real strong start to the speech with your introduction. Everything was in it. It was delivered well, real clear on where you were going with your main points that you previewed for us. You shared some real good information in the body to support the main points. You were a little under time, so I would say develop each of those a little bit more. The personal story was great. You can add some connectives to just help us along. You did have a nice connective to main point 3, but I didn't hear them earlier than that. What else? And you gave a real nice review and closure with your last line. What value does it hold? Because no one, I mean, this is an odd object for people to think that is valuable and irreplaceable to you, but the way you framed it was wonderful. And I see why you keep it. You know, that would be something a lot of people would throw away. And your story about how you went back to the crash site and found it. I don't know how long afterwards it was. That's pretty interesting. I see that's why you need that to kind of help you motivate you move forward, which was nice. Delivery was very good overall, very inflexible. When you ask questions, everybody, this is an important point. When you ask a question, you're trying to lead your audience into some thought. So give us an upward inflection. And what you did, like the beginning, you went to a downward and that kind of ends the conversation, but you want to stimulate that thought. So ask it with an upward inflection. Again, we'll work on this tomorrow in class a little bit to add some enthusiasm and energy. Thought your attire was dressy casual. That's good. Fine tone, rate pauses, maybe add more facial expressions and, expand the extemporaneous delivery, but you had some really good eye contact at times. You just appeared calm and prepared. I love the way you integrated the object. You weren't too far off the time limit, so just something you can do to expand them. Okay, who's next?
I can go.
Great, go ahead.
I had Kinsley. Her broad topic area was the Aerosmith song "Dream On."
Good, and talk right to Kinsley. Remember, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I got your main points for the historical and personal relevance to both, so it was a really great share. You brought a lot of emotional connection, and I could see why it was important to you. I feel like the historical value that you included about how originally the band was not as successful and really struggled with it and getting their songs the attention that they deserved. I thought that was a really great point because it brought in how they had that growth and you called it a full circle moment, which was awesome. How the first response from fans was not great and how they overcame it was, you could see why it was inspirational. You have really great transitions. You said, now that you understand the history, and then continued on to your next topic, which was an awesome blend. And then you talked about your personal connection with your early exposure, like the certain memories that you had with your sister at the amusement park. That was awesome to include because I could relevant to myself because I have a sister, and like you can remember early memories with that. And then how just your parents had that big impact on the music that you listened to. And like my parents listened to AC/DC growing up. So it was awesome to be able to relate to that too, and how they make that impact on your life. And then just the dream achievement, it was really great. You did an awesome job. The only thing for the positive comment that I would say is just maybe put both of the music slide and the way that you left the speech with the quote, maybe put that on the same document. But other than that, the way that you left the speech with the quote from the singer himself it was a great way to leave it. So Good job.
Good, Steven Tyler, right. Who else has a comment for Kinsley? Anyone? Okay, Kinsley. I like the way you related to the audience when you're talking about goals, and that was also your attention capturing device. That worked pretty well, and it was a unique one too. What I didn't hear in the intro, you gave us a clear preview, but what I didn't hear in the intro was your establishment of credibility. Like, when did you first hear it? I think we got that later, but you didn't really, right in the beginning. It's nice to know your relationship with it, just with a line or something. That would have been helpful there. But the point of your speech that I remember the most, I didn't write it down on your response, but that I really am going to remember this because it reminded me of when I took my kids to Disney World, is when you said we'd go to Disney World and we'd hear it on the rides. I totally forgot. There's a whole Aerosmith themed ride. And I forgot about that till you mentioned it. And that was one that my son really wanted to go on, but my daughter was too little to go on it when I took them. And so we just stood there and waited for him. And he went on it all by himself. But it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay. So back to your speech. When you preview main points, everybody, the reason you're doing that is because you're telling your audience for what to listen. You did that effectively in the introduction. Then you switched the order of them in the body a little bit. And that's, I don't know if you did that on purpose or it just happened, but maybe you just said them wrong in the preview, in the wrong order in the preview. They were all there, but what I'd say is try and keep them in the same order, because 1 and 2 I think they mixed up a little bit. And I think you're going to benefit really from putting clear connectives and using a pause after a main point ends, because for me, 1 and 2 ran together in the speech, or 2 of your main points. I'm not sure if it was 1 or 2 or 2 and 3. They kind of ran together for me. And I said, okay, wait a second. What is she talking about now? The band at the time or the listeners? And so that would just to clarify, it was great information and good development overall, relevance to speaker and relevance to society and culture really clearly. And just clarify your review of your main points in your conclusion. You did have a great end, as Jenny mentioned. In the delivery, you had nice flexibility to your voice. I think you had good enthusiasm and energy in your voice, actually. So keep doing that and do that again. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. Didn't want you all to have to hear me coughing. What else? Effective eye contact. Yeah, I think you had good extemporaneous delivery overall. Just add some smile. It was a great topic you were talking about and you love it. So add that in. Good. You're working on the visuals. I know it takes some time to switch them around. It's hard to say stuff, but that's something you could tighten up. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, we're hearing somebody. I'm not sure who that is, but go ahead and mute if you're not speaking. Go ahead and mute. That'd be good. Thanks, Kensley. All right, terrific. Who has not responded yet? We have Deani and Sam and Keshana and Faith. Who's going next? Keshana, are you going to go next? Go ahead and unmute. There you go.
I can go.
Good. Who are you talking about?
So I had Cammy.
Good.
Your broad topic was Stronger by Kanye West. I think that your central idea was clear, and I believe that your main points were the song Stronger. It was inspirational to you in how the song demonstrates the importance of music to our society. I felt like I could really relate because I play sports, and a lot of people in our class also play sports. For the presentation aid, I said you used the clip of the song, but I feel like next time, like almost like how I did, just actually like show a visual aid. So maybe like share your screen. For a positive comment, I said you did really well with having eye contact with the audience. And I love how you connected the speech with like your personal life. Like you said that I think you said something about like having surgery and how the song like basically it was an anthem to you and it wanted you to do better. The only suggestion I had was that I heard a little bit of you saying in the middle of your speech. So next time, like just take a pause or try to find another word to say instead of and that's it.
Good.
Thank you.
Who else has a comment for Cammie? Cammie, you started very strongly by with a scenario to capture our attention. You played some of the song and talked about the feelings of motivation that it gives you, and your credibility was established at the end of the introduction. That's supposed to be in there. That's good. What would normally end the introduction that can be stronger for you would be a clear preview of the main points, because I was a little confused trying to find them. I think I got them by the end, how the song Stronger spreads inspiration to increase your work ethic. It gives you a sense of motivation and direction. And there was another one, but again, we just needed that clearer preview, that statement. So everybody, when you write your central idea for your outline tomorrow, we're going to go over those in class tomorrow for speech 2. Remember, everybody, that you take that and copy it, put it right in the end of your introduction. And that's what you say to us. That's the clear preview that we need to help set us up for the speech for what to listen. You gave us some great supporting materials too, Cammie. The examples showing relevance to both you and to society. And the other way you help us learn your main points, everybody, and Cammie, you could improve on this too, is to give us another clear review of those main points in the conclusion. That would be helpful. In terms of delivery, I thought you had a real good connection to the audience. Not only do you want to have a good attention capturing device that you write and deliver to us, but you also want to try to look at the camera on your first line, last line, and your main points. And you did that with your first lines. You were really connecting to us. I thought you had a good, varied, flexible voice. Maybe add some more enthusiasm, which would give you a little more volume. I did hear you, but you could energize that voice a little bit. You did a nice job, and almost everybody did this. I had no problems with anybody with your hair and your face or anything. That's always real important. So good for you for doing that. And again, we could add some facial expressions. I thought you had excellent extemporaneous delivery overall. You looked at us pretty much throughout, which was nice, and you appeared calm. So good work overall with that. You played the beginning of the song, wanted to hear it. I did not know this song. I do want to mention that research was not required for this speech, but if you did it, you were supposed to cite your sources, and Cami did that. She talked about two different source citations in there. They weren't as complete as we talked about yesterday, but we haven't gone through that whole unit yet. So you got credit for what you did with those. Next speech, we'll ask everybody to do complete source citations, and we'll review those components today. So good work with that part of it, Cami. All right, who's left? We have a couple more left to go. Faith or Sam or Deani, who's next?
I can go.
Sam, who are you talking about?
I had Maddie.
Great. All right, she's not here, but go ahead.
Her broad topic area was the song Till You Can't. Her main points were it's inspirational because it translates her family beliefs and because of its lyrics. And the central idea was it's inspirational because it translates her family beliefs and the lyrics are also inspirational. And she did a really good job relating it back to herself personally. One thing she could improve was presentation aids.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's all.
I'm not going to say too much about Maddie's speech because she's not in the room and I gave her a written response. But I don't know if you all watched this one, but the recording kind of stopped and I don't think she was finished with her speech. Did you notice that, Sam? It just kind of ended in the middle of a word, almost in the middle of a sentence. There was no conclusion. Did you notice that when you watched it, Sam? Or
Yeah, I kind of saw that.
Yeah, so this is really important that you preview what you, and I talked to Maddie about it already. She understands that happened, but you want to make sure that you get your recording that you want to send in. So we didn't get the whole speech, but she did some good things, as you said, some areas to improve. Thanks. Okay, Sam, who's next? We have Deani or Faith?
Love the movie.
I can go.
But that was the one moment where I was like, hey.
So for Faith's speech, her broad topic was the song The Climb. And her main points, I think, were the song The Climb is relatable. It motivates people to keep going, and it motivates me and my friends. And basically the central idea was the song The Climb is relatable, is inspirational because it's relatable, motivates people to keep going, and it motivates me and my friends to get through tough times. And was there a relevance? Yeah, I thought it was a relevance because majority of our audience is either college students or just student athletes. So which that's not really like, I want to say easy, but like sometimes they have like struggles and stuff. And there wasn't nothing really to cite. And there wasn't no like aid or anything like a visual aid or like a play of the song. I think if I remember that there wasn't, but a positive that she had great eye contact. And then I just love a song like just fits into her life and that she came back to Newberry and stuff after all that. And one thing just to improve on is like changing your tone of voice sometimes and adding like an emotion and smiling some more.
Good. Does anyone else have a comment for Faith? Okay, Faith. You used a nice question to capture our attention. You related to the audience when you talk about reaching goals you set for yourself. You established your credibility when you talk about your experience and when you listen to the song the first times and how it helped you. So that was good. The only thing we didn't hear, I don't think you said in the introduction that who the artist was and maybe who the writer was. I don't know that Miley Cyrus writes her songs, but if she does, clarify. If not, not everybody did that. I didn't mention that on everybody's, but it's something you want to do if you're talking about. That's like citing a source fully. Got the same main points that Deani did. And then when you start the body, everybody, remember in the heading of your prep outline, everyone, it's supposed to be all the information from your topic outline. And if you had to make any revisions, you make them there. The reason you do that is to give yourself direction and purpose and clarity for where you're going in the speech so we get it. And then you copy that central idea to the intro and use the exact same words. You say that for us. And you copy the main points to the body. What I missed in the beginning was a restatement of your main point. It was so easy to remember, though, because it was almost like one word, relatable. So it was easy to remember that one, but you just want to state that. Just, The Climb by Miley Cyrus is a relatable song. That's your main point one, and that would be the better way to start main point one. I think you did that well with numbers 2 and 3. I just didn't hear it in number 1. Good relevance to both you and society, development. of main points 1 and 3 was strong. Main point 2 was a little shorter. You want to try and pump that one up too. Remember, one of the when we talked about criteria for main points, we want to try and keep them even so that you have a good amount of development for each one, about even. Effective last line to give closure, yeah, and motivate us. That was nice. The delivery comments, you had good, flexible, varied voice. You dressed professional, dressy, casual, good. Rate pauses, tone worked fine. I said add a smile. You had a few facial expressions throughout. You want to expand that. And I think you had good eye contact and effective extemporaneous delivery throughout the speech. You didn't seem to be reading it, which was good. But you never played a piece of the song. I was looking forward to that because this is a song I like to hear too, for the same reasons as you. And yeah, you missed that requirement. So good work overall with it. Thanks for sharing. And we have one more response, then we'll all talk about Tories. Anybody that watched Tories, we'll all talk about it. Because, well, is it Tories that we haven't talked about? No, we're all talking about, it's Sam's, I guess. Sam's, right? Is that the one you talked about, Maddie? Maddie didn't have a response for you. So we'll talk about Sam's. We already talked about Tories. Okay. Faith, you're going to talk now.
Okay. I had Diani. Her broad topic was the song Go Big or Go Home. And the main points, I believe, were for sports fans everywhere. This is an inspirational song. It inspires her when it comes to basketball and stuff. I do believe that there was relevance to this topic because there are a lot of sports people, athletes in this class, and listening to the song, it was very inspirational. She didn't really need citations because I don't believe there was any research done. Where was I?
Presentation
Oh,
aids?
the presentation. I did really like you using the song and having the words on the screen, but there was a long pause while you're trying to get it to work, and it was kind of confusing. Like, I read in the speaking outline, or what you showed at the beginning, I saw where it said audio aid or something like that. So I kind of knew that that's what it was, but it was still just like kind of an awkward pause before. So like just introduce the song or something like that whenever you're going to use it. And also try looking into the camera more, because I noticed that you were looking not at the camera. I can't remember if it was down or up, but it was one of the two. And other than that, I thought it was really good. You had great confidence in your voice, and I loved the story you told behind the song.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Faith. Does anyone else want to tell anything about Deani's speech? Deani, I'll just add a couple of comments then, and then we'll talk about Sam's for a moment. You captured our attention with a question. You related to the audience. The only thing that was, you gave us a clear preview and introduced the topic. The only thing that was missing from your intro was establishing your credibility with this song, like when you first heard it, or if you've done research or something like that, to help us know your experience with the song. I got the two main points were very clear: inspirational to you, inspirational to society, which meets the requirements of the assignment. Your personal stories were excellent, and how you got your start in basketball, and mentioning even the details about the teams you were watching was very nicely integrated. You had a clear review of the main points in the conclusion and an effective line to give us closure. Strong conclusion for you there. I said add some connectives, and we talked about those now, so you can do that for the next speech. In terms of delivery, I thought you gave some really nice emphasis and good volume, tone, pauses. You didn't really have any vocalized pauses that I heard of. If you did, they weren't obtrusive in the speech. You had some intermittent eye contact. Your classmate mentioned this. Make sure you try and give us more extemporaneous delivery with a speaking outline so that you're not reading too much. You appeared calm and prepared. Just relax. You're doing well. And share with us what you want to share. I thought you, let's see, I thought you set up the audio aid pretty well for a point of concentration. You wanted us to listen to the lyrics, but take what your classmate said too and see what Faith said has relevance. So make sure that you see if you can adapt to that as well. All right, now the last speaker we're going to talk about is Sam. We don't have the person here to talk about it. So does anybody have any comments, just anything that you wanted to mention about Sam's speech that you remember from watching it? Anybody who watched it? No? Sam, I'll just give you a couple of comments then, because we don't want to slight you in any way here. So Sam, you talked about your 60-degree wedge, and you gave us a question to capture our attention. You talked about how this your credibility with the story of your grandfather and the relation to the object. And your main points, I think I got them. This is an area of improvement for you. You can clarify the preview because they weren't really clear to me, but I think it was you never got to golf with your grandfather. It's the only club you ever chipped with, and your grandfather's passion. So I think I discerned those, but it was a little difficult for me. So make sure that you say those clearly next time. Your stories were wonderful to show the personal relevance. I thought you could have expanded the relevance to the audience. And one thing you didn't do, it's called a 60-degree wedge, and maybe just show that a little bit more and talk about the angle and why it has to be that angle. Because people that don't know golf don't know that, are there different degree wedges or something like that. Now you were at 6:04, so you were just over time. You didn't lose any points for that because you have a little 10-second grace period. But so you'd have to cut something if you added more in. So we got to be careful about that. And I think where you could cut is you repeated some of the speech twice. And the idea is to set us up in the intro and save the elaboration for the body so that you don't do that. And just elaborate once on the main points, and that would be in the body. And then just say them in the intro and the conclusion. And let's see, what else? I gave you a nice, you gave us a nice, effective last line with it. You want to have the same passion your grandfather had. Voice, vocally. Again, try to add the enthusiasm and energy. I did hear every word you said, which was good. You had excellent dressy casual attire. Your tone was nice. Your voice just trails off. And this happened to a couple other people too. Try to support those last words of the lines. Sometimes they got a little gravelly. And this, like I just did there, you don't want to do that. So just try and keep it energized. And you just appeared calm and prepared. You could add a smile. Thought you had some effective eye contact with the lens, but expand the extemporaneous delivery because it did look like you were reading at times. And nice integration of the actual object. I'm glad you showed it to us. All right, so that would be the responses for your classmates. We're going to do something similar next round. You'll all be assigned somebody different, and there'll be a couple of other components to the response. We'll do the forum entries again. Some of you responded to more than 2. Good for you. You got more participation credit. Some of you responded to just 2. Good. You got your minimum participation credit that was expected for that. So good for you. I do encourage you to watch them all, even if you don't respond in the forum. But if you've not read your forum comments from your classmates, please go in and do that because they gave you some really good comments, some very nice insights that you shared. It's gratifying for me as your instructor to see you using the vocabulary of public speaking and helping your classmates out, because this class is really all about helping everybody improve. We're a team here. We're a speech team, if you want to look at it that way. We don't have any competition to play against anybody or each other. It's not that kind of a team, but we want to work together to try and make everybody a little bit better by the end of the semester. So good for you with that. And thanks for your work in the discussion forum, because what you gave us was what you gave your classmates was good in that. All right, the outline process. Some of you had some difficulties with the outline process. Things didn't quite go as you wanted them to with that. So I want to take a moment and make sure everybody knows where to look for some examples. Okay, so right now, I'm going to be sharing your textbook with you. Just a little bit of it. Again, I'm not going to read this to you, but when you go in, remember on the side here, you can go to the chapter you want. I've picked chapter 11. Here's the title page. Here's your guidelines for preparation outline. And then you've got a sample prep outline here. All right. When you look at this commentary, that should help you. And this is what it needs to look like on the page, everybody. Because some of you just wrote paragraphs. That's not an outline. You'll get a 0 on it next time if it's not an outline. You got some points this time because it's the first one. But you do have example prep outlines in your handouts as well. I'm not going to show you all those, but go find those. Make yours look like that, even more than this. Okay? And then the difference between the speaking and the prep outline. Some of you did this very well. Others of you didn't really do it at all. The difference is you remove the heading and the work cited. In this case, they call it a bibliography. You remove those, so you're left with just introduction, body, conclusion, and then you leave all the ones, twos, that's the visual framework, the indentation, and you delete about half the words. That's your goal with your prep and your speaking outline. If you want to see a speaking outline, this is the same speaking outline for that speech we just looked at that was really long. See how much shorter it is. There's no real sentences here, but it's just words and phrases. And you've got your delivery cues, which some of you used very well too. You can type those in, you can write them in later. That's fine. If you're printing your speaking outline and you want to submit your speaking outline with written delivery cues, just take a picture of it and send that in for your speaking outline. That's fine. Because I just want to see how you're doing with it. So I encourage you to review your outlines in the chapter. Does everybody know how to find those in the chapter? Yes? Okay. The other thing that you can do to help you with that is to review your outline process handout. We've covered this already, but it says the same stuff I just went over. Topic outlines due tomorrow. So let's bring those to class and we'll go over those. And this is how you set up. This one is the informative research speech too. By the way, folks, you get this from your speech assignment. It should say this on all of yours. This says speech 3, yours is 2, but it's the same thing, okay? And this is what you're turning in tomorrow. Again, you may have 3, you may have 2, you may have 4 points. Preparation outline. Please read this over on your own time and just make sure you have everything in there. And then the speaking outline. Here's your description. This is also in your assignment, so it can help you if you read it there. And then these checklists, if you can check every one of these, you probably have a pretty good outline. If you want to know if you're doing the right thing, well, just check your topic outline. Is it the appropriate format? In other words, does it look like this right here? Same thing with the formats for the prep outline and the speaking outline, okay? So just check these and just try to make sure that you're doing what's required for the outlines. That handout's in your Wolf Den handouts tab. It's called the outline process. So I want to make sure that everybody's clear on those. And you do have sample outlines. You have 2 for this type of a speech in your Wolf Den handouts. One of them is called about acupuncture, and the other one, I'm not remembering what it's about, but you have another one in there too. So make sure you look for those for speech 2 prep outline samples. There's 2 of them in there. I'll probably think of what it is before we leave, or I'll show you. So that's outlines. Who has a question about outlines that you might want to ask right now? Anybody? That would just help the whole group? No? Okay, so we all know the difference between paragraphs and outlines, right? Yeah? Okay, so some of you turned in paragraphs, and remember, you won't be able to get credit for an outline if it's not an outline. It's like going to Chick-fil-A and you order a #1 chicken sandwich and they give you 4 nuggets. It's a lot of the same stuff. I mean, it's still chicken. It's just not in the right format. That's not what you order. The outline process is supposed to help you with organization, help you know what's relating to what, and make sure you have the components of the speech you need. So let's work with outlines and make sure you write that outline for next time, if you didn't this time. Some of you did just fine with them, and you understand what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, this is review for you. Okay, so that's the outline process. Want to make sure we do that next time. What's coming up for your next speech is when we do responses in class, we're going to do an oral response similar to what you did today. But next time, we're also going to ask each of you to write a response to a classmate called a peer evaluation essay. And if you've looked at this assignment, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you can look at it now or you can look at it over the weekend. But what you're asked to do in your peer evaluation essay is to give a detailed written response. It's really, I say detailed, but it's 2 paragraphs. Give a 2-paragraph response to your classmate about their speech. Now you're seeing the assignment. This handout is in your assignment called peer evaluation essay. I'll assign you all that person today to whom you're responding to next time. This will be the same person you talk about in class. You won't read your whole essay to us, but what instead you'll do is there'll be a list of bullet points on a slide, just like you saw, to respond to. So paragraph 1, you want to evaluate the composition of the speech, how they put it together, what the central idea was, whether it had Main points that were clear, supporting materials, source citations. That's composition, how the writing of the speech went. Is it organized? Intro, body, conclusion, that kind of stuff. Paragraph number 2 is about the delivery. Was their voice flexible, varied? Did they look at the audience, or in this case, the camera lens? Did they have good variation? Rate, pause, all the kind of things that we were talking about in our response today. How did they integrate the presentation aids that were required? So that's what you want to talk about in delivery. And did they end with a great last line? Was it strong? Okay, 300 to 500 words. And what you're going to do is incorporate the vocabulary of public speaking in it. So this assignment sheet is in your Wolf Den, and I hope that you will look it over carefully as you plan this. It's just for one speech. It's not for all of them. So please don't get confused about that. And what you'll be asked to use, to help you with this essay is this document right here. This speech evaluation form. This is a blank version of what I sent to each of you with your speech. But all these words right over here, this, you have 300 to 500 words. You should take words right off of this and talk about how your speaker met them or maybe missed them in their speech. So you'd say, I heard some good connectives, like, and then you write what they were between the points. You say the speaker, not clear, my classmate, use their name. You can write their name in the essay. They're going to get a copy of what you wrote. So just know that whatever you send in your assignment, I'm going to email that to your classmates. So write it right to them if you want to, or you can write it as a third person using their name. That's fine. Or you can write it right to them with you. Either way is fine with me. But you want to just say, yeah, the attention capturing device was good because it was a question which made me think about their topic. Just something like that. You could write what the question was if you want to. When you talk about supporting materials, I heard 3 complete sources. They included the date, they included the author, that kind of stuff. You could even write what some of them were and which ones you liked. When you get to delivery, so you have 1 paragraph about all this, 1 paragraph about all this, 300 to 500 words total. You'll probably be closer to the upper end of this if you do it right, because there's a lot to talk about. And if you don't talk about every single item on this assignment sheet, that's okay. Hit the highlights and make sure you have some positive comments and some suggestions. What you do not have to do, that I do as your instructor, you do not have to grade your classmate. You do not have to put point values in there. Just give them comments. It's all about the learning. It's all about, I wish I didn't have to give points. I wish I could just, say comments, but we have to quantify things in higher ed. So anyway, that's what we do. So good. Any questions on the peer evaluation assignment or where you find those? Do you know where you find both of those handouts that I just showed you? Where do we find them? Anybody know? Someone's got to answer it.
The handouts
Under the
page.
assignment on Wolf Den?
In the assignment on Wolf Den. That's where they are. In the assignment on Wolf Den. Yes. Okay. Good. So that's what's coming up. Now, also for your peer evaluation essay, you ready to jot down a name, everybody? Here's the person you're going to be responding to next round of speeches. Here you go. Kensley and Deani, please respond to each other. Keshana and Ginny will respond to each other. Olivia and Tori, please respond. Maddie and Courtney. Now, Courtney and Maddie aren't in the room now. I'll talk with them later. Faith and Sam, please respond to each other. And Hudson and Cammie, please respond to each other. Okay? So that'll be for your peer evaluation essay. It'll also be the person that you respond to orally in class, and we will look at that assignment and tomorrow in class, the oral response in class. So I'm in my Wolf Den here for you. I've got logged out, unfortunately. Okay. Well, let me log back in and go into our class and show you what's coming up for tomorrow now. All right, let's go this way, students. Okay, so this is what you're going to see in your Wolf Den when you look at it, right? So all these are done now for you, which is great. Module 1 is in the books. You see what's up here tomorrow, quiz after class, and topic outline. It says it's due 11:55, which is accurate. That's in the Wolf Den, but you're asked to do your topic outline before class, and we will start class tomorrow going through those and giving you some hints on them as well. Then you can revise it after class and turn it in. Here is the definition, the description, and what y'all didn't have too much problem with the topic outlines. I think everybody had a pretty good topic outline last time. The issues came for some of you when you transferred it into the full outline, the prep outline. But if you read your feedback and look at the samples, that should help you for the next time. It takes time, it does, and it's tedious sometimes, but just try and get a good outline for this one and let it help you in the speech process. Okay, so that's due tomorrow, and this is where it is. The assignment we just talked about is right here. When you click on this, you'll have access to those two handouts, and here's the description of it as well, but look at the handout for the full description. All right, when you're looking for those handouts for the different speeches, yes, you've got your textbook here. Of course, the outline process is here. Scroll down and your oral response for speech 2 is going to be right here. Here's the description of it, but the slide for your discussion in class is going to be here. And then here are the sample prep outlines. So we're done with these two now because we've done that speech already. The smallpox and the acupuncture are the ones you want to look at for this time. Okay, these two speeches right here, that's what your prep outline should look like. The sample speaking outline is in your text only. I don't have a handout for that. Questions about that? Everybody good with that? So you know where those items are, right? Okay, then I'll stop sharing that. Let's see what else we have to cover today in class. All right. So speech 2 and 3 both require 3 presentation aids, and they both also require 3 complete research citations. When I say 3 presentation aids, they should be PowerPoint slides. You can put any others in as well, but you should have at least 3 PowerPoint slides. So think about what's going to enhance your speech and help. We thought about some possible visuals that some people could have used in number 1 and mentioned those. So just think about that. What's going to help my audience really remember this point or bring it home? It could be a picture, it could be a diagram, chart, drawing, whatever. We talked about a lot of those a couple of classes ago. Now, in terms of the complete source citation, when we talked yesterday, we talked about the components of a complete source citation. Who has that list and wants to share before I show you again? Does anybody have the list of what belongs in a complete source citation and want to share it with your classmates? We talked about this at the end of chapter 8 discussion yesterday. Who has that? Anyone?
Says the name of the document, author, sponsoring organization, qualifications, and publish/updated date.
Great. And now you can have a review visually of what Deani just said because she got it exactly right. Good work with that, Deani. Yes, this is what makes a complete source citation. Now you have most of this information or all of it in your works cited list when you do it in the MLA or APA format. One of the questions on your quiz yesterday, you probably remember this, was, what do you have to have in it? You don't have to have the website address. That's not important in an oral communication situation. Nobody can really remember that if it's complicated anyway. If you do say, you can say apnews.com if that's the name of the website, that's fine. And if you do say the website and we don't know it, make sure you qualify it. That's important. But you do want to make sure you say the title of the article. Sometimes titles of articles give us a real good hint about what the article's about. Go ahead and let us know what publication it's in and how recent it is. Those are the things you want to make sure that you share with us. I'm going to share one more slide with you here. This is the example one that we looked at yesterday. Again, don't copy this whole thing down, but particularly look at the first 4 lines of this. This is what a good source citation sounds like. It's got the date, the publication, the author, who that author is. What it doesn't have is the title of the article. And that might be a nice addition to add to this. If you get it all except the title, you're still doing pretty well, but see if you can add that in too. Now, we didn't talk about this yesterday, but I'm going to throw a question out at you. Are you allowed, what do you think? Are you allowed to use a resource that doesn't have a date listed by it? Can you put that in your speech anyway and just not say a date? I mean, it's a requirement to say the date, but what if you just can't find the date anywhere when it was posted or when it was published? Usually you can, but all right. Anybody have any thoughts on that? It's a yes or no. Who wants to put a guess out there?
Yeah, you can.
All right, Hudson, you can. The requirement is for a minimum of 3 fully cited sources. So if you have one that doesn't have a date, have at least 3 others. You can have 4, you can have 5. And we said this yesterday, you can have maybe up to 6. It's hard to have more than 6 sources in a short speech like this. 6 is pushing it anyway. But if you have 1 or 2 that are really good stuff you want to share, but you just don't have a full citation, say it anyway. And you don't have to say, I couldn't find the date. Just don't say the date. We'll know you didn't say it if you don't say it. I mean, so yeah, some people aren't all that picky about it, but I'm trying to help you all become really good critical thinkers and critical listeners. And when you hear something, you say, okay, well, when was that from? Because people say things at different times and sometimes they're different. They're both could be valid, but that's important with the dates. And if you're giving a statistic about money or some, prices or something like that, you got to have dates. So make sure that you try and get complete source citations. And if you have some that aren't complete, do the best you can. Use them and have 3 others that are complete. Are you allowed to use a source more than once in the speech? Like say I gave that source citation from The Guardian, and then there was another quote from it I wanted to use. Would that be allowed in the speech?
Yeah.
Yes, it would. Good, Sam. Absolutely. And when you do that, you don't have to say the whole thing over again. If I was going to talk about that article from The Guardian, and the first time I said, The Guardian of January 23rd, 2023, quotes Sandra Watcher, professor of technology and regulation at the University of Oxford. I would say all that the first time. The second time would say, also in the article from Watcher in The Guardian, I learned that, and then I would say the other piece. You see, you don't have to say the whole thing again. That doesn't count as a new source citation, though, but you're allowed to use it. So make sure you have 3 different ones. And they don't have to all be electronic sources. You can get a testimony. Who remembers what testimony is from yesterday's class? What's a testimony? Definition? Anybody know? Testimony? What's that?
It's like when someone like backs you up, like an expert testimony, or like
Yeah, expert or peer usually. You can get those live. You can ask somebody about your topic, especially if they're an expert in it. That's great. That's research too. If anybody does a class survey, we talked about that yesterday. You saw some examples. That's research also. That's one of your source citations. And you just say in the class survey I took last weekend or on, January 17th, whatever date it is, I learned that. And you say, 9 out of 12 of us, or whatever the response is. So if your classmates send you a survey, include me if you send one out. If your classmates send you a survey, please answer them. And we talked about surveys yesterday. You can do closed-ended questions with multiple choice. Don't forget to include the don't know response or don't have enough information response, because some people don't have a feeling on a topic or knowledge on it. So usually there's 3 choices there. You could have a scale question, rate on 1 to 5, or you could have an open-ended question. Usually the open-ended questions get the lowest response rate because it's more work for people to respond. So try to give us easy responses if you're doing those. If we have time in class tomorrow, if you have a quick question, you want a show of hands survey, tell me, and I'll let you do that if we have a moment in class or right afterwards or something. It doesn't take but a couple of seconds. By show of hands, how many of you have ever been to Paris, France? I can ask you that right now and I can see. So I would know when I'm doing my speech about Paris that nobody's been there, or that 6 of you have been there, or whatever the results are. It just helps me plan. This was audience analysis that we talked about yesterday. Okay, so we're talking about supporting materials and audience analysis. We're reviewing some of that we talked about yesterday. Does anybody have any questions over anything we covered yesterday from audience analysis or from supporting materials? Those were our 2 topics yesterday. Remember that when you're planning your supporting materials, you're thinking about 2 things: your topic, your audience, and your purpose. I said 2 things, I said 3, but you already know your topic. You're thinking about your audience and your purpose when you're choosing your supporting materials. And what's going to help me communicate to my audience? You have facts, statistics, and testimonies. So use different kinds of supporting materials and make sure you cite your sources. Any questions over source citations or presentation aids? All right, then In chapter 9 on Tuesday this week, a couple days ago, we talked about organizing the body of the speech, and the purpose for speech organization is because it helps your audience to follow and it builds your credibility as a speaker. You sound more like you know what you're talking about when you systematically lay things out for us, then use those same words and go through them and then tell us again at the end. So here's what we talked about today, and you list them for us again, just like in the preview, in the conclusion. That helps. And with organization, we talked about different ways to organize your main points. This may come into play for you as you're planning your next speech. We talked about patterns for informative speaking, like chronological and spatial. I hope you remember what those are. If not, look them up. We talked about organizational patterns for persuasive speaking, like problem solution and causal. We'll talk about a third one when we get to that next week, motivated sequence. And the last one we talked about, which is informative for persuasive or informative, its most common one is topical, where you just have different categories of your topic. And when you choose topical, which is fine, it's common, but it's fine. Think about, do I want them ascending or descending, which means most to least important or last to first? Or do you want to have them just broken up by a certain way? Would number 1 be more appropriate as main point 2 or 3? Just think about what order you want to give us these main points, and maybe put them in different orders and see what feels best to you. Maybe even ask somebody if you can find somebody who say, what order do you think these might go? Is this effective or that? Ultimately, you just have to decide and have a reason why you decided. We also talked about connectives 2 days ago. And remember where they go in the speech. Who remembers where you put connectives? Some of you had really good connectives in this speech, but where do connectives go in a speech? There's 3 major places. Anybody remember?
In between the main points.
Good. Where else, Faith?
And the introduction in the body, in between those two.
In the body, and
I believe the other one is in between the body and the conclusion.
You're absolutely right. Ding, 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 ding. You win the prize. Good. Yes. That's where they go in the speech. And remember, you have a handout called Connectives and Transitions, which shows you a bunch of different phrases. You can pull right off that page and put them in your speech, or you can invent ones of your own. The key in delivery is to, after you finish a main point, just pause for a moment and then say, moving along, or next, or something like that, even simple like that, just to help the audience get from one to the other. After you say your central idea to end your introduction, just have a little pause and say, so let's begin with, or to start, or just something like that. As we begin, just think of the phrase you want to use and use it. Same thing to the conclusion. Finish your third main point, pause for just a moment. As we wrap up, or as we come to an end, now to conclude, just say something that gets the audience, says, okay, now they're going to their conclusion. All right? So try to do that. Okay, and use the checklists to help you. So that's a review over what we've done this week. We've done a lot in a week and a half. We are halfway through our course now. By Monday, you're going to be 2/3 of the way through your speeches. And tomorrow is going to be a real crucial day for everybody as we look at your next topic outlines and get you set up for your second speech. Please review the speech assignment carefully so you know what to include in this. Pick some topic about something that you know and something you want to learn more about. Remember, if you don't learn something new about your topic and put it in your speech, then you probably haven't done enough research. So find a good topic that you really want to share with us and try and do that. Okay, for homework tomorrow, of course, finish your topic outline, bring it to class this afternoon. Finish that and then bring it to class tomorrow morning. Please also read chapters 2 and 13. Chapter 2 is ethics of public speaking. Chapter 13 is delivery. Tomorrow, everyone's going to participate. So be ready to use your voice in weird ways that you haven't used it before. We're going to play with our voices a little bit on Zoom. We can't do it in a group because it's kind of hard to on Zoom, but we'll call on people and everyone will get a chance to play tomorrow. And just read your syllabus, check your Wolf Den for assignments, handouts, due dates, your text, ask questions if you need some help, and I'll be happy to help you. Please don't forget, we do have a quiz at the end of class tomorrow. All right. Does anybody have any final questions for the group? If you have individual questions, you can stay in the meeting and we'll do that. But If nobody has any other questions, then we'll wrap up for today a couple minutes early and let you get started on your homework. Any final questions? Then I will see you all tomorrow. And if you have a question, stay in the meeting. Bye.